This has been one of my most requested videos ever, so I really try to take my time with it, write down all of my thoughts because I want to share as much information and as much of what is in my head as possible. So grab a drink, sit down, let's kick back and relax because I've got a lot to cover today. This is my new series called Glow Up Theory, and we're going to be talking today about mindset shifts and strategies that help you to attract high quality people into your life, and specifically a high quality partner into your life. And of course, we will cover one of the most asked questions that I get all the time, and that is where to meet successful men or where to meet men who are high quality. So we're going to go through a whole category of that. I'm going to talk about some things that I don't hear other people talk about online very often. So I have a couple of things that you may want to hear that you haven't heard elsewhere. A little bit about why I am sharing this and my credentials. So I personally do not believe that one relationship, one positive love story makes you an expert on really anything, to be honest. There's going to be things that you learn throughout that, of course, but the things that I have learned have not just been from my relationship. I've been with my husband for 5 years now. We've been married for about 1 year now, but a lot of my advice and a lot of the things that I share does not necessarily come from my relationship and things that I've learned throughout it. Of course, I've gathered a lot from it, but I have learned these things from watching a ton of content, also talking to my friends, my family, listened to hours and hours of advice on relationships, dating, and I've kind of narrowed it down to what I have seen works well and what doesn't work well. I also do a lot of self-work when it comes to self-love, self-appreciation, self-esteem, and those things play very heavily into who you end up dating and how you end up dating. So what I share here comes from constantly studying glow up content, listening to confident women, asking older couples for advice, being around women who have dated and married men who are kind, successful, generous, all of those things. I am always learning and I am always looking to learn. And what I want to do is share the things that I've learned so far with you all. I would love if you share some advice in the comments if you have any. That way we can all put a bunch of information here for everyone to learn together. I do not like to gatekeep anything that I learned from anyone that I feel is helpful. So we're putting it all out there because the more happy women that we have, the better, and the more advice that we can give that people want, the better, right? I will also say that a lot of my friends and family tell me that I'm very strict. I'm a Virgo, okay? I can't help it. I expect a lot from the people around me, and so if I come off as harsh or if I come off in a certain way, know that it is from a place of love. I want everyone around me to be the best versions of themselves that they can be, resulting in the best life that they can have possible. So I carry that over into my videos as well. I'm going to talk to you like you are my friends, like you are my family, so that we can all get better together. So I want to start by talking about releasing the idea of struggle love from your brain. We live in a world where struggle love gets way too much representation, in my opinion. The narrative a lot of times says that a woman needs to be a ride or die, that she needs to build a man from scratch, and that she should be okay with happily waiting for 10 years for a ring and smiling through disrespect. And those are things that we just don't believe. Meanwhile, there are entire corners of the internet that exist for the purpose of tearing women down, for wanting providers or partners who match their ambition. There are literal male podcasters who are calling women who want men with equal or greater financial stability gold diggers. And of course, there's no shortage of TikTok lives labeling Black women as unworthy of the types of love that they want. But you don't have to participate in that. That type of content is only going to bring you down. You need to avoid it at all costs. I know you see it pop up on your feed sometimes. You need to get rid of that. Don't train your algorithm to think that you like that type of content. When your brain starts to hear something enough times, it starts to believe that that thing is true. So you need to be very careful about the types of content that you consume. I talked about this in a recent video. I talked about Tyler Perry's Straw, the movie, and about how negative content can really impact the way that you think. It can really hurt your brain. And we don't want any of that here. The version of yourself that is going through this glow up process, that is looking to date better, treat yourself better, and attract better people into your life cannot afford to take in these types of thoughts. Because when you take in those types of thoughts, you end up dating with those things in mind instead of the things that you actually want for yourself. You end up thinking things like that are normal, and they are absolutely not and should not be normalized. Intentional dating should be rooted in self-respect, emotional safety, reciprocity. Now, dating itself is not a test of your self-worth, but who you choose to date is a reflection of your standards and your self-image. It is a million times better to be single than to be with a partner who is not good for you. A million times better to be single. It is always going to be better to be single than to be with someone who is bringing you down, who is not good for you, who is not good enough for you, who's putting you through pain. You will thrive by yourself versus being with a partner who is bad for you. You need to always keep that in mind. So before we talk about where to meet men, we need to talk about something that's actually more important, which is self-worth. When we carry ourselves with confidence, when we love ourselves, when we feel peace in our lives, we stop tolerating chaos. We automatically stop tolerating it because that's not part of our little world that we've built from inside. When you feel that way, people notice that, people feel that. The energy of someone who respects themselves is absolutely magnetic. You'll notice that conversations will tend to flow a lot easier when you feel confident and relaxed within yourself. Strangers tend to compliment you more. People are more willing to give you things. You'll notice that you're being gifted things, or you'll notice that you're being given free entry into things or drinks or whatever the case is. You'll notice that people want to give to you. People want to be around you. People want to make room for you when you go into a space. People want you to feel like you belong there because you come in and you are confident and you act like you belong there. How we take care of ourselves is how we teach other people how to approach us. This obviously doesn't mean that you need to be like decked out in designer clothes and like a whole bunch of makeup, expensive makeup, all this stuff, jewelry, all of the things. It's more about how you carry yourself. So your posture is going to be very important. Your eye contact is very important. Your presence is very important. Thinking those thoughts when you walk into a room, knowing that you are that girl, that's important. I think it's interesting because there are quite a few like femininity coaches, which I'm also not the biggest fan of like that term, because I feel like there's some toxic things that go along with it, but that's besides the point. But I feel like a lot of like femininity coaches talk about how to be very soft, like acting very softly, talking very quietly, speaking very slowly and quietly, just like you're like so little and so small. And while I understand that to a certain extent, if you go too far that way, you're going to seem like you're not confident. You're going to seem like you're just not confident enough to talk out loud. Have you seen the princess treatment girl on TikTok? Because she's like, they make fun of her because she sticks her, I don't know how to do it, but like she like sticks her like collarbone out to look like, to make it show like more of the bone, I guess, to like, you know, make her seem more classy and ladylike. And she's like, when I go to a restaurant, I don't talk to anyone. I don't talk to the waiters. I don't talk to any of the servers. My husband talks to everyone if I'm there and I come in and he has to let me out the car, and then I have to wait for him. I don't make eye contact with anyone, with any of the servers. I don't make eye contact because that is my husband's job. And it's like, okay, like I get you want the man to order for you and stuff. Open the door, drop you off, talk to the hostess when you say you have a reservation. But to avoid eye contact with literally everybody that you come across and to not talk to anyone who is there, that's kind of wild. Anyway, she wants to come off as this like little like feminine, like princessy type of thing where it's like, oh, it's exclusive to be able to talk to her, which yes, it's exclusive to be able to talk to you. That's true. However, you take that kind of stuff too far, it just looks like you're not confident. And a lot of the femininity coaches talk about how like being too confident scares men away, or being too much is like overpowering. But I think that one thing that we don't really keep in mind is that real men who are emotionally immature and who are also confident are not going to be confused or scared away by confidence. They're going to be drawn to it. I think you have to kind of know when to be a little bit more, you know, laid back, a little quiet. But that's not most of the time. Most of the time you don't need to do that. Most of the time you just need to be yourself. As long as you're being respectful, like just be yourself. Because what are you going to do? Pretend for the next 60 years that you're with this man, that you talk like a little mouse and that you don't have any opinions? Because that's not what I want to do. I hope that's not what you want to do either. However, one thing that I will say is a lot of people do say not to come off as too independent. That's something that I kind of agree with, because everyone wants to feel needed. This is not just a male thing. Everyone wants to feel needed. You want to feel needed by your job sometimes. Sometimes you want to feel needed by your family. Sometimes you want to feel needed as a parent. Like whatever it is, everybody wants to feel needed by someone. So that's understandable. However, hiding your confidence, never that. You're an adult who takes care of yourself. Like we know that you're independent. You're surviving and you're okay. Like you're eating, you have a job, like you're independent. You've proved that. But yes, I think that people are really drawn to confidence, and research also supports that. So a large study that was published, see, I'm looking to the side, I'm reading, I can't memorize all this, okay? A large study that was published in Personality and Individual Differences in 2020 found that people who reported higher self-esteem were rated more physically attractive by strangers, even when controlling for objective facial symmetry and grooming. That means that your belief in your own worth literally changes how people see you. Another piece of self-worth is how we talk to ourselves internally. If we are constantly doubting our self-worth, if we're constantly doubting ourselves, we're talking to ourselves in a negative way, it shows up on the outside, even if you think that you are hiding it. Something that you can do is ask yourself, if someone saw how I treat myself and how I talk to myself daily, Would they believe that I'm someone who attracts the kind of love and respect that I want? Or another thing that you can think about is, do I talk to myself as someone who is worthy of kindness, or do I tear myself down first? The most important thing that you can do is feel confident in yourself and love yourself, because then you're going to be comfortable with turning down things that do not serve you. Being able to say no to people who are not good for you, to men who you're dating who are not good to you, being able to walk away from situations is the most powerful thing that you can do, which is why I wanted to talk about that before we talk about where to meet men, because before we talk about where to meet new men, we need to talk about how to get rid of old men, the men in your life who are not working for you, who are not, helping you succeed, who are not a good fit for you, not a good match for you. You need to be able to walk away from those things. Same thing goes for if you meet someone new, you think that they have some of these characteristics that you like, but then it turns out they're not a good fit. You need to be able to walk away because you have confidence in yourself, you love yourself, and you are okay with walking away from a situation, because you know that if you let go of something that is not good for you, it leaves space for something that is a lot better for you. So let's talk about where to meet men. Like I mentioned, I consume a lot of leveling up content, and a lot of times that has a crossover with talking about where to meet men. And a lot of the things that I hear influencers and people who post about this stuff say, I don't necessarily agree with. So I'm going to talk about some things that I feel from my own perspective, my own life experiences, where my friends have met men, where I have seen situations that I feel would work really well. And the first one is actually how my husband and I met. We met in a luxury high-rise building in downtown Phoenix. Now, I say luxury high-rise buildings, luxury buildings in general, any type of building that is, quite frankly, expensive and has amenities, to be honest. It doesn't have to be super over the top expensive, but someplace that is nice in your city. If there are a couple of high-end buildings that are condo buildings or apartment buildings, if you're able to live in one of those, great. But I know that's not realistic for most people, as far as hey, I'm going to pick up my life and move into a building that I didn't think I was going to live in before. So I get that. But if you have any friends who live there, let them know that you're, trying to talk to people, you want to hang out, maybe go to their building events. Sometimes there are future resident events. So if you go and you take a tour and they'll put you on a list, and that way it's not that you're moving in there, it's that, hey, they'll maybe invite you to the events that they have for residents so that you can come in and check out the place, see if you like it. The great thing is that these buildings allow guests. So if you do, like I said, if you have friends who live there, hang out at their place. Tell them you're looking for somebody, hang out at their place. Meet some of their friends in the building, hang out there, spend time there, work there. If you work from home and you can take your laptop with you. Those types of buildings, first of all, these people are background checked. That's good. They have over a 620 credit score, which is normally what you need to rent an apartment. A lot of times it's higher for buildings like that, but I don't think it's higher by that much. But like I said, the important part is that they do a criminal background check. Now, a lot of people fake income requirements, so I'm not going to say that they make 3 times the rent for sure, because some people fake that, but the background check is usually pretty real, okay? So, most likely they make enough to live in the building. There's going to be exceptions, of course. There's always some scammers in these buildings. There's always some scammers in these type of buildings. Most likely they are normal people who make the amount of money that is required to live there. The next one is curated events. I go to a lot of events. I go to a ton of events in Scottsdale. My husband and I typically both go. And I find these events on Eventbrite. I find them on Instagram, but mostly Instagram lately, to be honest. If there are event venues in your city that you are interested in going to, follow them on Instagram and also turn on notifications so that way you're notified whenever you get something new that pops up. I'm going to give some examples of things that I go to. Cars and Coffee is one. We went to one this morning at McLaren Scottsdale. That's probably one of my favorite places that I never hear people say on these lists that they give. They never say Cars and Coffee. Most cities have some form of cars and coffee that are for supercars. Usually that attracts a crowd of people who are, into nice things. They either have a supercar or like supercars. And supercars are just fun to look at. I love going to these events. I don't ever plan on me myself buying a Lamborghini or something, but I like to look at them. They're great. They're always a good time. The people are usually super friendly. The car community in general tends to be very nice and welcoming in most cities, I've noticed. Everybody wants to connect and everybody wants to talk. So that's a really, really good spot to go. So Cars and Coffee is one. There are networking events oftentimes on Eventbrite. That's another good one if you have something that's in your industry. Maybe go check that out. Grand openings for restaurants. Sometimes those are easy to get invited to. If you see places that are doing events, DM them, like ask them if you can go. Like there's some places that I've gone to, there's events that we've gone to for grand openings where like I saw that they were opening soon and I just DM'd them and I said, hey, can we come? And they were like, yeah, sure. So that's something that you can also do too. So if you think that you don't have access to these things, just reach out and ask and see if you can go to something that you're interested in. Also, when you do things like this, I think that it's important to research your city, especially if you're relatively new there. Research your city, find out some interesting things, find out some fun stuff. You know, every time you go and you have these experiences, it's more things to talk to people about. I find that really valuable because whenever I meet people in the city, I always have something to talk about. Like if I meet a new girlfriend, I'm able to tell her about all these different events. I'm able to tell her about what's opening near here, what's opening over there, what new restaurant they have. I'm always able to speak on something, and that makes me feel like I always have something to start a conversation with. So research your city. Things like that are really, really helpful for conversation starters. And you can always jump into a conversation if you hear someone talking about something that you know about. Now, I know that the all the like, you know, different lists that I've seen always include like the nice hotel bar, and I like really hate to be cliche because like this most of the time I don't think is the case. There's a hotel here called Global Ambassador. It's in Phoenix, and it is like one of the hotspot places right now in Arizona. That is a great place. If you're here, that's a great place. If you're not here, Google it, because places that look like that or places that are like that in your city may be good places for you to go to. And then of course, you need to have hobbies. Go to things for your hobbies. There was a 2015 study published in Evolutionary Psychology Science that found that people who met their partners through shared activities or social circles, like hobbies, volunteering, professional events, reported that they had higher relationship satisfaction than people who met randomly, like at a bar or a club. So showing up in spaces that are aligned with your values, that's really, really good. That's something that is really helpful. It seems to help relationships quite a bit, and it makes it easier to talk to people. Also, I think that this tip came from Sunny, I'm pretty sure. But wear something that is unique, not the whole outfit. Just pick something that is one thing that people will ask you about, because people are going to come up to you. I like a hat. I think that hats work really well for this. Sunny wears hats often, and it's always like a, people come like, oh, I love your hat. Oh my gosh, you're wearing a hat. I love your hat. This is a great hat. Like if you wear like one unique piece or like one standout piece, one pop of color piece, or something that is just unique, like a unique necklace, like you have one thing that people always ask you about. If you want people to come up and talk to you, wear that thing. And it makes it easy if you're the one that doesn't want to start the conversation. Also, this helps you make a lot of girlfriends too. And last but not least, we're going to talk about how to hold your standards with grace. So one of the reasons that a lot of women struggle to hold standards is because we've been conditioned to think that asking for more makes us seem demanding or ungrateful for the things that we're already receiving. Standards are simply reflections of what you feel that you need in order to have peace and to have joy. We do not need to be yelling and shaming men who fall short of expectations in these standards, but we can set the tone early. We can speak kindly, speak firmly, talk about what we expect, and then let actions show us if that person is aligned with us or not. Because once again, if you have that self-confidence, you have that self-worth, you're able to walk away from something that does not align with what you want. So that should mean that you're able to be clear about your expectations, and then if someone doesn't meet them, then you can walk away from that, and that's okay. A 2018 study from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that women who express clear, direct preferences in dating who were rated as more confident and more attractive. And that was rating by both men and women. Those who hesitated or tried to be overly accommodating were rated as less attractive. This shows that holding firm to your standards is not off-putting. It's something that is actually healthy and shows that you have self-respect. High standards is not the same as being high maintenance, which, I mean, I like being high maintenance. I am high maintenance, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. But when people are like, oh, like, you don't want that high maintenance, blah, 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 I feel like it has a negative tone to it. You should have high standards no matter what. Like, you should have high standards. Also, having high standards means no more emotionally unavailable situationships. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. If that's not what you want, why are you doing it? It's just a question, just something to chew on, something to think about. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you can see the rest of my Glow Up Theory series. If there's anything else that you want me to talk about in this series, let me know in the comments. Also, if you have advice, put it in the comments. We want to make like a whole, we want to put as much information in here as possible so that people can learn and people can grow. We can all learn together. I love that. Also, if you want to follow me on other socials, I will put my name on the screen. It's Kate Swan. Thank you again for watching, and a gentle reminder that if he likes you, he will text you back. Thanks, bye!